Hi again, everybody. I'm Elise Lonstar from Data Australasia, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about the research and things that we do for people, because these lessons that we give people just don't happen by themselves.
Data Australasia, guided by lived experience, led by you.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining me. Often when I set up to do a lesson for somebody, in the old days, we just used to walk out to a client's house and go, what do you want to learn? And that's how we did it when I worked with Vision Australia and also for the Blind Foundation in New Zealand. Sadly, a lot of those organisations, and this also includes Visibility, shut down their training organisations about a decade ago. And we've lost the ability to teach by curriculum. Now, teaching by curriculum gives us the ability to teach people how to navigate a Windows desktop before we start teaching them how to navigate a Microsoft Word document or a spreadsheet. Teaching people some basic JAWS commands so that when they get from the Windows desktop, they can move into, sophisticated things like browsing the internet and that sort of stuff. So I still think we need to have that curriculum-based training back, because it is a foundational skill to be able to navigate, an internet web browser these days. But like we've talked about in other videos, we've got to do it over the top of, underneath access technology such as JAWS or NVDA. So I plan a lot of my lessons now. I've got a document here that starts off as a lesson plan, and then it turns into the official record of, what actually took place. So that if anyone comes by and needs to audit us in a few years' time, or people need to review what they've done, we've got a list of keystrokes that are covered, a synopsis of what went on in the lesson, how long it took to do the lesson, who was present, whether it was face-to-face or remote. And that sort of detail is kept and can often be harvested to build reports if we need to write a report for a Braille display or a JAWS license or some piece of access tech. So that's why we have that information from those, regular sessions that people do with us. So I put that together. I've got some scripts that, generate that template rather quickly. But sometimes, like in today's session, I've had to spend a bit of time and research. And because this client wanted to know a few things that I actually was a little unsure of, and that I myself don't always use. So because if you don't use something, you lose it. So I had to Google things up and make sure that the keystrokes that we were about to cover in today's session actually worked, and not just worked, but worked as intended, but also make sure the screen reader, in this case JAWS for Windows, was actually going to read the dialog boxes in the way that I'd expected it to do so. And in one case, it didn't work so well. So we've got to be able to have contingencies. So all this extra research takes time, it takes effort, it takes knowledge. And one of the things that I've always been grateful for working at my job at Statewide Vision Resource Centre, whenever there's a new bit of software or whenever we need to know something, we're given the time to research that, to play with the software to see how it handles, to see what things are spoken by the screen reader, or things are printed to the Braille display, if we're using a Braille display, to see how the program looks on screen, to see whether we can customize that screen to look a little bit better for those who have got low vision, or how does it handle with zoom text. So all of these things we get the chance to try and find out. That stuff takes time and should be remunerated properly, which is why I'm a proponent of getting back our therapeutic code, or at least a code similar to it. You mightn't call it a therapeutic code, but we are worth every single bit of $193.95 or whatever it is. But we're not supposed to be charging that now. We've got to discount it at the rate of 43% per hour, which is why I now have to charge travel. So how many people in the regular workforce have been given a 43.5% pay cut in the last 12 months, on the last 24 months? No one that I know of. If that was normal industrial relations, all of the unions would have their guts for garters. And you couldn't blame them. That's what unions are there for, to represent people. We have no such representation. So as a result, we've had to cop a 43% pay cut. So no one seems to give any kudos to all of this research that we do, so that when we go out onto a person's site, whether we go to a person's home or workplace or doing it remotely, that what is going to happen is what we intend to happen. And then all the different learning techniques. I worked with a lady today who's got multiple disabilities, so I can't teach her in the normal way that I might teach somebody who doesn't have dual sensory loss, for example. So I've got to be slower in the way I talk. We have shorter lessons because there's more cognitive load on that particular client. So as a qualified trainer, I've got to know how to deal with that sort of stuff and make those reasonable adjustments. So it's not just about all the geeky technical stuff, it's about different training techniques. Hope this has helped. So if you want to tell the NDIS what you are asking for when you do your plan, please do so. And we're happy to advise the NDIS how access technology actually works. Oh, and simple things like these things, learning different types of keyboards. That all takes time. What will work for the client? Sometimes when we do assessments, we spend a bit of time trialing various gadgets for clients to see what works for them. Because remember, Data Australasia is guided by lived experience and, of course, led by you. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.
For fast, efficient access technology training and support, call Elise Lonsdale from Australia 0448 966 533. That's 0448 966 533. Or from New Zealand on 027 315 2858. That's 027 315 2858. Data Australasia. Guided by lived experience, led by you.